up, lovely souls? I am Y311H. Yes, the H for the honesty, peace, forgiveness, and good vibes, which is spread here, my friends, through reacting to good vibes videos like the ones we shall be seeing today. So, wonderful creature. Before we dive into those videos, I have something here that I'd like to share with you. You see, you're one good vibe soul, and I really love you. Just for clicking this video, you deserve something to feed on. Yes, some good stuff for the soul. And it comes from our book of wisdom. This is what it says. I consider that our present sufferings are not worth comparing with the glory that will be revealed in us. The creation waits in eager and expectations for the sons of God to be revealed. For the creation was subjected to frustration, not by its own choice, but by the will of the one who subjected it, in hope that the creation itself will be liberated from its bondage to decay and brought into the glorious freedom of the children of God. That, my friends, is from Romans 8:18 going down. Good vibes, creature. Let's give thanks here also to our respected executive producer. Together, let's humble ourselves. Father Lord, thank you for this wonderful creature that you created, Father. This viewer that you've enabled them to join us today. All glory and honor, Father, belong unto you for their lives, Father, and for the peace. Good Father, thank you for the videos that we have today. Guide us through reacting to them. Fill us with your spirit. Forgive us all our sins, Father, and help us to impact the lives of those people that shall see these videos. In Jesus' mighty name, we do pray, trusting and believing. Amen. Wonderful. So let's dive into spreading some love to the world.
I'm going to take you from ChatGPT beginner to expert in under 90 seconds. We'll do this using a 4-step prompting process that I've come up with. Whenever you start a new chat in ChatGPT, we're always going to start by assigning ChatGPT a role. Doing this really narrows the focus of ChatGPT. As an example, we could say act as a social media expert. Second, we are going to provide ChatGPT context. Now with this step, you don't have to tell it your entire life story. Tell it who you are and what you're looking to accomplish. So when providing context, I would say, I'm the founder of Go Bananas AI and I'm looking to enhance my LinkedIn presence. Step number 3 is giving ChatGPT a command. Here we're going to make the task that we want ChatGPT to complete very clear. For example, we could say, please generate a LinkedIn article about how ChatGPT can boost productivity for sales teams. Last but certainly not least, we're going to tell ChatGPT to ask us questions. This is going to give ChatGPT the remaining context it needs to execute the task that we gave it. This will give us tailored, high-quality output instead of super bland output that you can tell is ChatGPT generated. All we have to say for this step is you must ask me questions before generating your output. After you submit that prompt, we're going to get ChatGPT's questions. It doesn't really matter how you format the answers to these questions. I like to just do 1.answer, 2.answer, etc. After we answer ChatGPT's questions, we are going to get the first draft of whatever task we gave ChatGPT. From here, we can either copy and paste and make human edits, or you can give follow-up commands.
These are conspiracy theories my 6th graders told me that they believe in, and I'm going to try to read them with a straight face. Bill Nye the Science Guy is a Russian spy. When I asked them to elaborate further, they could not. Birds are not real and they are FBI drones. I've heard this one before. Makes sense to me. Michael Jackson is still alive. For reference, these students were born after 2009, so that was interesting. Thanksgiving was only made so America could have a holiday in each month. When I asked a student to elaborate, they said that the story between the Pilgrims and Native Americans were fabricated. Last one, Mr. Beast scams people for subscribers. These are the top 5.
Here's the difference between plaque and tartar and how to prevent them. So plaque is bacteria that's sitting on your teeth. The longer you leave it, it then calcifies and turns into tartar. And now you need a professional to remove that. So we all know brushing twice a day and flossing will help reduce a bit of that tartar. But the other thing is you want to control the bacteria in the mouth. I wouldn't recommend this every day, but 3 to 4 times a week, I do a salt water rinse, controlling the bacteria in my mouth by making it very alkaline. This can help reduce plaque. If you want to use sea salt, you can, even if it's the rocks, you can just put it in warm water, wait till it cools off and dissolves. rinse your mouth with that. If you have regular table salt, that's fine too. Your teeth will thank me.
PSA. It's always better to look slightly older than it is to start looking weird or bizarre.
How things actually look when they first came out. Toilet paper. Actually, how it looks. First came out looking like that crazy. Look at the toothbrush. My God. Oh, I can't believe people use this for their teeth. They must have hurt themselves extremely when the toilet first came out. Oh, this is crazy. The flashlight. My God. All this flashlight. Oh, how are they carrying it? Can't imagine. Look at how the pencils looked like, my friends. Now how are they writing with this thing? It's crazy. The writing must have been extremely big. Look at the fonts here. Oh, I'm surprised. My friends still have fonts like those. Oh, this is crazy. I can't believe this is how the Basico looked like. Ah, the TV. Oh my God. Good vibes. Look at this one. The casing is extremely big than the screen. Oh my God.
This is not the proper way to break the spine of a book. This damages the spine of your book. Let me show you how to properly break the spine of your book so that it lays perfectly flat, nice, beautiful, floppy book that reads very easily without ruining the spine of your book. In order to properly break the spine of a book, you're going to set it flat, and then you're just going to take small little sections from each end, and you're just going to press them down. Very simple, and you're just going to keep doing this until you get to the center of the book, and I'm going to go ahead and speed this up for you guys a bit. When you're all done, now you're left with a much floppier, easy to read book. You will not see any spine damage after breaking the spine here, and it will lay flat.
In Switzerland, if you give birth to a child, you're automatically the parent of that child legally. And the person you're married to is also automatically the parent of that child. Of course, they're not necessarily the genetic parent of the child. And when the genetic parent of the child is someone else, they might want to be recognized as the legal parent of this child. In Switzerland, however, they cannot. The only situation in which they can claim a parental link, a link of affiliation with this child, is if the person you're married to starts the process by saying, I'm actually not the parent of this child. But as long as the person you're married to is happy with the situation and does not question their own parental link, no one else has the right to question it, not legally in any case. And the purpose of that is to protect families. Yeah.
People with anger outbursts are really the nicest people. I'm a psychologist, and I'm going to explain why I think this. So, from my experience, my clients that suffer from anger, in which they have anger outbursts and they do not want to have those anger outbursts, developed this really nice strategy. It's like very kind and altruistic. Typically what they do is they want to conform and give to other people, and they want to have no needs or wants of their own. So essentially they develop this internal blindness to their own needs and wants, and they just keep saying yes to other people. They keep giving other people what they want, and they hope for the best. It's sort of like this hope for the best psychological strategy. They're like, oh, I'll just do what they want and it'll be fine. Like, I'll be fine. It'll be great. The problem is that the mind has a mechanism to establish a boundary, and that mechanism is anger. And so when we give so much of ourselves to others, typically the mind kind of monitors the reciprocal nature of relationships. And when the relationship is not equal, then it'll develop anger to establish the boundary. And for a lot of people with anger outbursts, they are not aware of this mechanism. They don't understand that essentially their psychological state is like a volcano that's building with lava. and lava is anger. And essentially, they keep doing things and ignoring their own needs and giving to other people and giving to other people, and it's building, 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 and they're only aware when it erupts. So it erupts and they have their anger outburst and they feel horrible and they wonder why they did that, because they really wanted to help other people. They wanted to conform to what other people wanted, but for whatever reason, they just completely split and got so angry. And so the way to solve this is not to get rid of anger, because anger is an important evolutionary mechanism here. What needs to happen is that there needs to be a better self-awareness around the building process, the building of that lava. And for a lot of individuals who experience anger outbursts, they have no idea that their anger is building until it's too late. A lot of this is because they want to ignore anger because they hate it. They think that it's like this awful thing about themselves. But in actuality, it's a very normal response to essentially living like in this like martyr mindset where you just want to give, 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 give. And they need to realize, and if this is you need to realize that you are going to always experience that eruption if you don't have the self-awareness to understand what your needs, wants, and boundaries are in terms of these relationships in which you're giving and not receiving. And if you are in that position, your mind will always build that anger and it will erupt to establish a boundary to protect you, because the mind will always protect itself. It is not some type of morality thing.
Your testosterone levels are directly impacted by zinc and how much zinc you're getting in your diet. Because not only does zinc support the amount of testosterone circulating in your body, which is essential for areas like your sexual health, your strength, how much energy you have. Zinc also supports your hormonal and overall reproductive system health. And at a minimum, men should be aiming to consume at least 11 milligrams of zinc in their diet every single day, which zinc is rich in foods like oysters, red meat, and seafood.
Oh, 5 things Christians should not be doing. And the first one goes negative self-talk. Galatians 2:20. Judging others. John 6:44. You see, comparing yourself to others. You shouldn't. 2 Corinthians 10:12. Being prideful. Check out Proverbs 16:5. Speaking corruptly against others. My friend, check out
This is the
Ephesians
secret so
4:29.
that you never have problems inserting the thread into the needle again. A friend taught me these 3 ways, and they are very easy. Trick number 1. Take a broom and cut a strand. Fold it and you will be able to insert the thread into the needle much easier. Then just thread the thread through the hole and you're done. Trick number 2. Use an old toothbrush. Place the thread in the bristles and press the needle against the brush. You will see how the thread enters easily. Trick number 3. Cut a small piece of paper, fold the paper, place the thread in the center, and use the tip to insert the thread into the needle without complications. Which of these tricks did you like the most? Let me know in the comments, share the video, rate it from 1 to 10, and God bless you all. Don't forget to subscribe for more information like this, and a special shout out to Juan Sanchez from Mexico.
Today we're going to talk about biblical masculinity. So what does the Bible say a man should be like? First and foremost, God created men to protect women and children. See, what the Bible teaches is that the ranking system of a family goes Jesus, husband, wife, children. The Bible commands that a husband is to love his wife the same way that Jesus loved the church. See, the whole unity of the church and Jesus is a symbol of marriage. It is quite literally, we get married to symbolize the relationship that Jesus has with the church. So whenever you see verses in the Bible that say, wives, you need to submit to your husbands and stuff like that, a lot of women think, oh, that's horrible, that's bad, why would it say that? Why should women need to submit to their husbands? You realize that what the Bible tells the husbands is, hey, you need to die for your wife. That is a much bigger burden to bear. That you must be willing to lay down your life for your wife, or for your kids for that matter, at any given moment. And if you're not willing to do that, if you're not willing to die at a moment's notice to protect your wife, then you are not biblically fulfilling that role of being a husband, a father, a man. Part of what prompted this video is that I saw a video on X of this man who was
violently harming a woman. I couldn't even show you a clip of that video on TikTok without this video getting banned. It is heinous to see. And whenever I see stuff like that, it builds up this rage inside of me, like this absolute disgust and infuriated feeling of a need to break someone's face on my knee. And I think what bothered me the most with this video is that someone was just filming this happen. This was out in public. Someone was just filming it happen. The person filming did not go to do anything. Nothing happened. If I witnessed that happening, I don't care about my safety. I don't care if I end up losing that fight. I'm going to end that gentleman and prevent him from ever harming someone like that again. See, a lot of people have this gross idea of Jesus being a pacifist, and a lot of that comes from people having a very incorrect interpretation of a verse where Jesus says if someone were to strike you on your right cheek, turn to them your left also. Now, I want you to picture this, okay? So, say, as we're sitting here, your right side is going to be this side of your face. If I were to strike this side of your face with my right hand, which is predominantly what everyone was right-handed, mostly. If I were to strike you with my right hand, how am I going to hit you on that side of your face? It's going to be like this. It's a backhand. See, what Jesus was teaching there was metaphorical for an insult, where if someone insults you, gives you a backhanded comment, turn to them the other also. Let them insult you. Open it up. Let them. That doesn't harm you. Sticks and stones may break my bones. You remember that one? Words shouldn't matter. So if someone insults you, let them insult you. That's what Jesus taught. Jesus never taught if someone strikes you, then you need to let them assault you. That is absolutely not what Jesus ever taught. Jesus is not and was not and will never be a pacifist. If you go back and you watch our video where we talked about Balaam and the talking donkey, you see a pre-incarnate manifestation of Jesus appearing on the road that causes the donkey that Balaam is riding to veer off. So he hits the donkey. Then later, they're going along this road, and once again, the donkey sees the pre-incarnate Jesus in the middle of the road, and he turns off again. So, once again, Balaam hits the donkey. Then finally, they come down this passage where it is impossible to veer off the road, so the donkey just stops and refuses to go forward because the donkey sees the pre-incarnate Jesus holding a double-edged sword. So once again, Balaam hits that donkey, and that donkey opens his mouth. It says that God opened the mouth of the donkey and allowed him to speak. And the donkey asks and said, "Why have you hit me?" And to summarize this, the donkey basically says, because of him. Balaam looks up and sees Jesus, the pre-incarnate Jesus, the angel of the Lord, standing in the middle of the road with a sword. And then he says, "Why have you hit the donkey?" So Balaam responds saying like, well, he wasn't doing right, to which the pre-incarnate Jesus, holding a double-edged sword, says, "If your donkey did not stop, I would have already unalived you." It's like, dude, Jesus is not a pacifist. Jesus is a warrior. Jesus is the ideal version of masculinity in every way. We see Jesus crying, never because of pain. He's never crying during him getting whipped, flogged, beaten. He's not crying whenever he's nailed to a cross, but he is crying in the Garden of Gethsemane whenever he is desperately afraid. He's feeling that emotion. But despite his fear, whenever the time comes, not a single tear leaves his eye, and he embraces that fear. That is what courage is. Courage is acting in opposition to that fear. You're feeling fear, but you're not letting it stop you. You are going anyways. So when did Jesus cry aside from that? Whenever Lazarus died. The shortest verse in the entire Bible says, Jesus wept. Even though Jesus knew he was going to revive Lazarus, he stood there and he cried with Mary and Martha. He cried with them because he saw their pain. He empathized with them, and he cried over something like death. So is it okay for men to cry? Yes. Not over you getting a boo-boo, but it is okay for men to cry about something that matters. A long time ago, I was asked a question on if it's okay for Christians to date non-Christians. And in that video, I said that generally no, but I gave the example of the situation I was currently in, where I was dating a girl who was not a Christian. But we were taking things slow for the sake of me trying to teach her about Christianity in the hopes that she became a Christian. About 3 weeks ago, that relationship ended. And as a result of that ending, I have cried many times because I did not want to end it. I did not want to leave this girl. I wanted to marry this girl, but I chose that I needed to obey God. So I am dealing with that pain. I am going through that the way I should as a man. Where it hurts, I cry, but I push on because I have to obey God above fulfilling the wants that I have. We are not to be unequally yoked. And so in the future, no, I will absolutely never, ever even consider dating a non-Christian ever again. So a man must be protective. A man must be courageous. A man must be able to actually show his emotions properly. I think one of the best books that you could read outside of the Bible that's going to explain this is going to be The Warrior Poet Way by John Lovell, because he talks about the two distinctions with that. Whereas the warrior and the poet, it's the lover and the fighter, it's the lion and the lamb. It is living like Jesus. It is being like Jesus. Jesus is the ultimate example of a man, where he was loving, he was caring, he was nurturing, but he was protective, he was sacrificial. That is how every man must live their lives. If you expect your wife to submit to you and respect you the way that she is commanded to, then you need to obey God's commands. You need to be a husband that is worth respecting. You need to be a husband that is worthy of being submitted to. You need to lead the way that Jesus Christ led. And you need to be willing to die at any moment's notice to protect your wife. Be loving and be very protecting.
Here's how to keep your feet warm using trash bags. You see, when it comes to feet love to sweat. And what is sweat? Well, sweat is moisture. If you've ever been outside in the wintertime with 100% waterproof boots and you take them off after a long day and you reach inside and those boots are damp, that's because of the sweat, not because of the snow. And when sweat, being moisture, evaporates out of those layers or a surface, it makes the surface or the layers colder. That is called evaporative cooling. And that is bad news bears, especially if you're relying on your boots to keep you warm in the middle of the wintertime. So how are we supposed to combat the sweat evaporative cooling moisture problem? Well, we use a vapor barrier. In this example, trash bags. Here's how I do it. I take a super thin pair of liner socks. These things are 100% polypropylene, or you can get them in 100% wool. I've used those ones from REI before. They're pretty good, but you just want a really thin sock. Pantyhose also work really good for this. The reason you want a thin sock is just to prevent chafing between your foot and the actual trash bag. But you're going to take your trash bag, put your sock into it, wind it up like that, make it look pretty good, and then you're going to take a nice thick wool sock and just put that right over the top. After that, just put your boot on like normal and tuck that excess garbage bag underneath your pants or whatever you have to do. Yes, your feet are still going to sweat. They're still going to get damp. But the only thing that's going to get damp is that super thin little liner sock inside the trash bag, not your big, thick, warm, insulative layers that are super important for keeping your feet warm in the wintertime. This trick is especially useful if you're going to be relying on the exact same pair of boots to keep your feet warm and dry for multiple days at a time, when you might not have the time or the means to sit there and ensure that the insides of your boots are completely dry before you start the next day. Because it is extremely easy to switch out a little damp liner sock as opposed to waiting for an entire boot to dry out.
Would you take your expired medications? I do, but for you, let me give you a small history lesson and then you can decide for yourself. A law was passed in 1979 requiring all drug manufacturers to have an expiration date on all medications to ensure their safety and effectiveness. But in order to save money, the drug manufacturers decided to study the expiration dates only for a short period of time, which is usually 5 years. Because of that relatively short expiration date, the US military was forced to throw away a big stockpile of their expensive prescription and over-the-counter medications every few years. So the US military asked the FDA to conduct a study on expiration date on their behalf. At the end of the study, it was concluded that 90% of the 100 drugs that were studied were still effective and safe far beyond their expiration date, even 15 years after. Watch my next video on which medications are good beyond their expiration date and which one are not, and decide for yourself if you want to take your expired medications.
Have you ever been watching a rocket launch and seen these grid fins and thought, oh, those are cool? Let me show you something. First off, check out just how insanely massive these are. They're so much bigger than you might think. Look at that. They're freaking huge. Yeah, those are grid fins on the Falcon 9. These aren't even Starship's grid fins, which are so much bigger, like 3 or 4 times bigger. So the Falcon 9 has a mechanism to deploy these. So on ascent, these actually lay completely flat against the fuselage, and then they deploy once it's in space to prepare for re-entry. Now Starship does not do that. They're just deciding to keep them deployed the entire time. Now you can tell these are the old aluminum style grid fins because the surface here is completely flat. The newer titanium style ones have serrated teeth on the Block 5 booster, and that's to make it so it has more control authority during the transonic region between going from supersonic down to subsonic. The air flows just through them. They're not like huge drag brakes. They're actually, you know, mostly completely invisible to the wind stream, but when they turn off angle to the airstream, then that's when they start to produce torque and aerodynamic surface like that. So they only spin back and forth. They only go like this, and that's the only axis that it can rotate upon. So when you pair this with the one opposite of the booster, you can get, you know, your pitch, and pair this one with that one in the same way, you'll get your yaw. And if you actually couple them and have them all rotating in the same direction, you'll get your roll. And then you use all of these to actually guide the booster right back down to the landing pad so it can be reused. And that's the beautiful, clever engineering of grid fins.
Facial hair is an indicator of social class, but have you noticed that almost every single black man has some sort of facial hair, while with white men, it's a little bit more of a mixed bag? I don't know the nuance between different white men's beards, but clean shaven is definitely the standard in upper class spaces. Of course, all of our modern presidents, including Obama, have all been clean shaven. Most CEOs are also clean shaven, and it used to be pretty common to have a dress code where you had to be clean shaven. Now later in life, you might start to see some facial hair, but generally, again, clean shaven is the preference of the bourgeoisie. You'll only see clean-shaven black men in really politically sensitive roles. So the military, obviously literal politics, or C-suite at a corporation. And really for the C-suite, it's more because they've been clean-shaven their whole careers because of the rule that I talked about earlier when it was just part of dress code. Outside of that, black men, even if they grow very little facial hair like myself, will still have it. These really thick or really long beards still are looked down upon. So if you're looking to move up into a higher social class, you might want to consider trying to crop that up a little bit.
You mean to tell me that if someone in some part of the world never hears about Jesus, they never hear about God, they've never read the Bible, you mean to tell me that that person will still go to hell? Yes. See, the reason why we go to hell is not because we reject Jesus. The reason that we go to hell is because we sin. The wages of sin is death, but the gift of God is eternal life through Christ Jesus our Lord. We don't go to hell as a result of us rejecting the offer to have our debts paid. We go to hell because we've earned a debt. See, if you go to court, you don't go to jail because the judge wasn't merciful. You go to jail because what you did was illegal and wrong, and you are convicted of that. So say there is a person in a part of the world that's never heard about Jesus, they've never had the Bible, they've never read about God, anything like that. Does that person go to hell? Well, has that person ever sinned? Yes, every single person throughout all of time has sinned. A lot, excluding Jesus Christ exclusively because Jesus is God. Jesus came to earth, lived a sinless life so that he could pay the debt on our behalf. But every person who is not God has committed sin. Sin is when you violate God's law. So God gives us a moral standard. We're not graded on a curve or a scale, so it's not like, well, I'm better than that guy. It's we are all compared to the perfection of God. And if you fail to live up to that perfect standard, then you are in sin. You are living a life that is in opposition to God. You are rebelling against God, and you have broken God's law. And God, being fully good and fully just, he has to uphold justice. Say you were in court because someone unalived your aunt, and you're sitting in this courtroom and the judge says,